All right, guys, welcome back again. Another beautiful day here in Caldwell, Idaho. Well, we're here on mobettamofastta episode, and we are now working on a 2009 late '08 GMC Sierra 3500. It's got the 6.6 Duramax in it. Doing a thermostat change, coolant flush. And it's also saying it's due for the fuel filter. Guy's got the friend of mine here he's got the fuel filter in the truck, so he didn't ask me to do it yet, but it needs to be done. He's already got the part for the new filter for it, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it for him while I'm into this thing, because I already have to pull the inner fender well out anyway, and it's right there. So anyway, here's the truck. It's a nice looking rig. This thing has dual thermostats on it. They are right there underneath the oil fill neck, right between the alternator and AC compressor. So we got a few bolts there to pull out. Looking to be like a 12 millimeter there. And then there's 4 bolts on the thermostat housing, a couple down in there. A couple over here. And the thermostat connect, or the temp sensor connection. Got a couple bolts back here. Got one down here holding the upper radiator hose in place. There's another one. I don't know if I can get it on the camera here. There's another one back under there. I have to unplug the connectors here, remove a couple little bolts or little screws underneath here off this bracket to get those out of the way, to get that other bolt, be able to get that to free move. Probably going to have to pull the little screws out of this little cover thing here too, get the cover out of the way. Take the AC belt off, take the bolts out of the AC compressor, lift that up, move the AC compressor up over out of the way. But so I got that, and I already got the inner fender well out. Got the lower little shield skid plate wannabe thing out of the way, little piece of plastic, but got the inner wheel well out, and there's the fuel filter. So I'm gonna spin that off real quick. Got that to turn out. It's got the wires going in for the control of the sensors and stuff. Got a little connector to disconnect. Spin that off. Of course, want to bleed the fuel system to get the pressure out of it before doing any of it, because this fuel system can be under quite a bit of pressure. This thing has been sitting overnight now, has not had the key turned on or fired up or anything today, so there shouldn't be too much more residual pressure, but there probably will still be some pressure in there, so I want to make sure you bleed that off. But then it's just like an oil filter. Screw that off, screw the new one on, screw that back in and reconnect it, and that'll be good. Easy breezy. But here's the lower radiator hose. It's got a quick connect, but I'm not going to mess with that really. If you follow it down, it actually goes down under the truck, under the front end here. As you see, I've already got this jacked up. But the lower radiator hose comes right here. And it's got the little clamp on there, and I'm actually going to just take it off of there. And what I'm going to do is I got some tubing adapters and stuff to hook up to my pressure washer, and I'm just going to reverse flush it, hook my pressure washer up to it, and blast it out. It's kind of nice that the hose is right down here where I can do that, where I don't have to try to fight to try to get in there. Normally wouldn't be able to get to it, and I'd have to pull the radiator to do a quality flush. But this way I can do it just independently and flush the radiator, back flush it this way by hooking it up here to where no water or anything is backed out this way, and then just force it back out the top. If there's any gunk in there, plugging it up, it'll flush it right out the top. So while I had this off up here, take this clamp off the upper radiator hose and just have it dump right down here, dump all that water out as it comes out. I might leave this upper radiator hose on and just aim it down right down the front down here to where it's not going to get all over the engine. Maybe even right down in there. Somewhere I'll aim it to where it flushes out, where it doesn't get all over everything. But yeah. So that's what I'm looking at doing. And again, I'd like to give you guys more content of me actually doing this stuff. But right now, I'm just one guy with my smartphone. I don't have anybody else to run the camera to record me as I'm going here, so I've only got two hands. God only gave me two, so I got to work with what I got. And when I manage to get some help and have somebody here recording more full-time, start seeing the content quality coming up dramatically here. So anyway, I'm going to get to this, get this radiator drained, and start taking this thing apart. And as I go, I'll record some more in process and what have you as well. But yeah, so we're gonna back flush the radiator with the pressure washer. Gonna pull all this apart, get to the thermostats right down in here. Yeah, because this thing is actually sticking. The thermostats are sticking. It's getting a little hot. They're actually getting stuck closed. It's getting up above 210, just barely right at 210, a little bit above, and then they'll just quick pop open, temp will drop down, like down to 180, something like that, and all of a sudden the little snap shut again, and temp will come back up. And it'll keep doing that, even after it's been driven for a while. Yeah, I drove it yesterday to bring it here from Meridian, which is about a good 20 miles. I also drove it to the parts store. So yeah, I put around 20 miles on it, and I was sitting there watching that temp gauge going up, and then it pop and drop back down. Of course, I was driving around when it was like 50 degrees outside here, so in the evening. So it really didn't get too hot, but my friend here ended up saying that it actually got hot enough to where it put it in limp mode. And that's why he stopped driving it and called me. Needed to get this thing done. He needs his rig for his business. So helping my buddy out here, get this thing taken care of for him. So I'm going to get to it, get this thing taken care of, get this thing back on the road today for him, get him squared away, get him back in business, get him rocking. Okay guys, sorry I didn't get much content. I can't apologize enough, but I didn't get much as in process. But here's the old fuel filter. In there is where the float goes. So those couple of wires coming off. There's the other end. Just screws on like an oil filter. You end up having a new O-ring that you end up putting on this end, and the little plastic piece that screws on. There's a new O-ring the new one comes with. There it is installed. So this right here that screws in the bottom, you put a new O-ring on there, and I just used a pair of channel locks to grab onto that to loosen it up, and then also to snug it, and just like a quarter to a half turn past finger tight. It's pretty much really all, okay, maybe 3/4 of a turn, something like that. Not very much past finger tight to get that to fully seat, and then just plugged it back in. Then we're going to put the wheel well back in after I spray everything down with degreaser, because you got diesel fuel all over down the frame and suspension and everything. So I'm going to throw some degreaser on here, But I got the new thermostats in, belt back on, AC compressor back in place. Like I said, I didn't show you in process, I'm sorry. But I did back flush this radiator. And well, no, it's pretty warm today, so it dried out pretty quick. You see some water left over on the pump there and in there. But yeah, rinsed that out very thoroughly. It flowed real nice. So I don't think the radiator's an issue. I'm gonna fill this thing up with coolant, bring it up to temp, warm up, make sure the water pump is flowing good, make sure that's not an issue. But I'm pretty sure the thermostats were the issue here. Like I said, there's two thermostats inside of there. Let me show you the old ones here. Come over here. As you see, it even shows a little picture that it came with. So, front of engine, you got one thermostat. And then I'm trying to grab these things while I'm looking in the camera. That's weird. Anyway, so these things sit right in there like that. Got these couple of little holes in the, weep holes to let some coolant get by and to help it warm up, get to the heater and everything. But yeah, you want to put a little bit of oil around the edge of these when you put them in there. A little silicone based type lubricant is what I ended up using, like a silicone paste. Just put a very thin film on these, just to help get that initial seal until everything seats thoroughly. But it helped kind of hold them in place a little bit so they didn't shift around. Well, not that there's really much room for them to shift, but I did put a little thin coat of silicone paste on the rubber O-rings here on the new ones when I put it in, and then torqued it down. I torqued them to 15 foot-pounds when I put that thermostat housing back on, and it was just 12 millimeter bolts holding that down. These two here are 12 millimeters, or 3 here for this bracket. Got this 12 millimeter here holding this oil filter filler neck on, and all I did was loosen that up, didn't have to take it all the way out. There's a 13 millimeter bolt here for the fan shroud. I had to take that off to be able to get this bracket off. Once you get all that out of the way, of course you got this screw, and then there's a hose clamp right underneath here to pop this top off. And then you can get at the last couple of bolts down here. There's one 12 millimeter right down there, and there's another one right there, and that thermostat housing will come up. These are 15 millimeter bolts for the AC compressor. Just use my serpentine belt tensioner tool. It's got the 1/2 inch end on it. I got that down there on the, let's see where the tensioner go in the camera. Now it's right here. Can't really see it very well right now, but down in here there's a little notch. You can kind of see the pulley right next to the pulley there. The camera doesn't get a very good view. You can kind of see the notch right there for a 1/2 inch ratchet end, which is on my serpentine tool, my belt tool, which is nice and thin to get right in here. So the release the tension, got the belt off, took the AC compressor off, took this hose completely off. Had to take these two, the two little clips that pop back, flip this back, and it kind of pushes out each of these clips. There's 2 bolts and a nut. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, there's a bolt in here. Kind of right down in here. Right there. There's one. Another one right there. And then the nut. Find the nut in the big camera. Oh, wait. If I turn the camera to look at myself, then I'll find the nut. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't think The camera here. Oh, whoa, whoa. It's the bolt. The nut is down there. There it is. Nut right there under the intake pipe. Charge pipe there. Intake. Anyway, yeah. So, little nut there comes off. This whole bracket can move. Lift up out of the way. Get the other bolt that's right there by that white wire. Kind of see the edge of it. That's the other bolt you need for this upper radiator hose tube. Then that whole thermostat housing and tube will rotate up out of there, and you get at the thermostats underneath. Real easy, not really that big, not that hard. Just some process to get to it. But yeah, I did end up taking this hose completely off and just let it gush out here. It actually didn't shoot very far. It just came out about right here to the power steering pump and dumped down. Like I said, you can see some residual moisture from where it shot out and splashed around. But yeah, it was real clean. No sludge or junk came out, so it was in good shape. It flowed real nice. Yeah, it filled that radiator right up and flowed right out of there. No major gunk coming out of there. So, all right guys, so not much to this one. Fairly simple little maintenance deal that we're doing here. Like I said, I did get a hold of my friend here, and I asked him to make sure that he was okay with me going ahead and change the fuel filter for him. So I did go ahead and do that. He did say yes. So I'm going to go ahead and put the coolant in this thing, spray it down with degreaser, get it all cleaned up for him, bring it up to temp, make sure it all flows real well, have the guy come pick up his rig so he can get back to work with it, and everything should be good to go for him. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to share this video, subscribe. Let's get more people viewing this, get on board with this channel. Let's help build this. Let's keep making things more better, more faster. See you in the next one.